Alright, what's cracking with y'all? It's your boy Prince the Hustle Guy, aka Wise the Warlock. And we reaching in our combat tool bag one more again. It is a cold black affair. Shout out to the mighty LDBC, LDBC only, LDBC everywhere, LDBC versus everybody, LDBC or nothing. Yes, so we are back for episode 2 of Boxing and Breakfast. It's looking like it won't be 6:30. These morning miles are kicking my ass. So it'll be, I'd say, let's shoot for 7 to 7:45. Should be the time slot for boxing and breakfast. So 7 to 7:45 it would be the new time frame for boxing and breakfast. Um, so just to recap real quick, we went over a number of fights yesterday. Today, we're going to cover just a few topics, 2 topics to be specific. But before we do that, we'll let a few more people filter in. And while you guys are filtering in, I'll get into just yesterday's recap. So yesterday I started the show discussing the priority fighters we have, and that's the LDBC's fighters and King Corleone of Texas. He's fighting. Hopefully, you guys can hear me well. He's fighting Saturday, this Saturday. So today's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So in 2 days, he's fighting. Salute, Mr. Carl Yoda. Salute. Uh, welcome, family. Welcome. Yeah, so King Corleone fights Saturday, and Focus Ball, he fights, that's Healer Mind teacher, but Focus Ball or Iron Lion, however, like whichever alias you know him as, he fights the 15th, the same day as all of the mega matchups. But don't miss. Uh, do whatever you can not to miss um, the family. Sorry, guys, I'm literally just getting in after this run, still getting situated. Um, yeah, so there's another fight Saturday as well. Oh, yeah. Before we even do that, we can. Yeah, before I even get into that, I'll finish recapping yesterday. So yeah, I also discussed the big cards that are coming up. The Wilder, Anthony Durrell, um, and obviously Gary Russell is also on that card as well. Antonio Russell is on that card. Um, and I talked about the Anthony Durrell. I gave my pick with Anthony Durrell, Caleb Plant. On that, we discussed Devin Haney versus Cambosis, Clarissa Shields versus Marshall. We discussed the Baumgartner. Um, but again, we also discussed the Martinez. Just as a reminder, Martinez versus Ancajas. The second fight will be the same day as King Corleone's fight. That's this Saturday. That's either for. I'm assuming this is for super flyweight. That's October 8th. But yeah, so the one of the fights we have for just diving into the show for today's show, one of the fights we have for Saturday is Carlos Ocampo versus Fundora, the towering Inferno Sebastian Fundora. I'm not a fan of Sebastian Fundora, just to be honest. Like the guy's like a giant for junior middleweight, not even middleweight, junior middleweight, 6'6". Um, doesn't use his height, doesn't fight behind his height, um, gets into a slugfest with everybody on the inside, and he has like down near a 10-inch reach advantage over everybody. So he shows a lot of greenness, I say, in there. Um, he definitely shows cojones, but that's all really good, I have to say. Other than that, he's just a giant that doesn't know how to use his height. He's squeezing down to a weight class that like clearly no one is built naturally to compete with someone his size. I mean, 6'6". Granted, all of the weight classes are getting bigger, so the junior middleweights aren't far from 6 foot, but 6'6" is like ridiculous. I mean, like, granted, most of the junior middleweights are about anywhere from 5'8" or 5'9" at the lowest to about 6'1" at the tallest typically, and that's rare. And we have a 6'6" guy, so literally a heavyweight's height. Um, Not really looking forward to the fight. I'm curious to see who the family has in this matchup. Well, I'm not really curious. I'm pretty sure most people have Sebastian Fundora winning this fight by stoppage. Carlos Ocampo, on the other hand, we seen him reluctant to fight Earl Spence when he was given the opportunity. He took it, but was very reluctant to fight Earl Spence, and he was Earl Spence's mandatory, and he didn't last one round with Earl Spence and was stopped to the body. And from what we can see, Sebastian Fundora is a hellified body puncher, seeing as he doesn't even have to be all the way on the inside to hit you to the body. Um, that said, yeah, we got that matchup. Uh, and Ocampo also he's moved up to 154, obviously, to be able to fight Fundora, but he he had a couple fights there where he was successful and he did better than his showing at 147. So that's that. Now we get into more of the big news, but before we get into the the biggest news, which obviously would be the big fish news, um, let's talk about this Eubank Jr. Conor Ben scenario. So um, just to recap this whole thing, um, breaking news yesterday was that Conor Ben failed VADA's drug test, but somehow didn't fail uh, UCAD's. Now, UCAD or the like also Nevada State Athletic Commission, they don't catch everything that VADA catches. VADA, they know what to look for. They know how to uh, essentially scour all of the chemicals that make up our blood and see what does not belong in there naturally. That said, Conor Ben popped 30 for something I can't pronounce. Um, so that was breaking news of yesterday. But let's go back to the beginning of this. The beginning of this starts well before I even was a boxing hardcore fan, and that's with Nigel Benn and Eubank Senior. Uh, those two had salute Mike Biggs, salute. Um, those two had a rivalry. I think it was one draw, one victory for the Eubank side, and that I think was it. I think it was two fights and done, unless they did a trilogy, if I'm not mistaken. But I think it was a two and done. I'll I'll research that and have a like a factual answer for that tomorrow. But that was a big thing for the UK because it was the UK's own Stephen L. The Mac family. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's cracking with y'all? Uh, yeah, so um, that was UK's own. That was like a legendary British level fight in their eyes, and it was to give them their credit. That was a big thing for them. Now, fast forward to Eddie Hearn having Eubank Jr. and also having signing Chris Eubank Jr. And signing Connor Ben, Nigel Ben's son. He thinks even though they're separated, and let's be real, guys, we're separated by not just one weight class, but uh, two weight classes, if not three at times, because the way I perceive it is if you compete at um, 140, you're a 140 pounder. Even if you go down to 135, you competed at 140, so you can still be considered a 140 pounder. And if people at 140 wanted to call you out, I wouldn't consider that picking on a little guy because you campaigned at 140 before. Do you feel me? That said, Chris Eubank Jr. campaigned at 168 before. He has multiple fights over the 160 limit. So over the 160 limit is super middleweight. That's the only way to put that. Literally, that's how boxing works. If you're under 160, you've made the 160, aka the middleweight limit. Anything over than that is super middleweight. He's campaigned at super middleweight. Conor Ben has campaigned at welterweight. That leaves junior middleweight and middleweight in between the two. Eddie Hearn isn't unfamiliar to the concept of bad matchmaking, seeing as he's done this when Kell Brook was at his prime and sacrificed him to Triple G, who campaigned at 160 and Kell Brook at 147, and he made them fight at like some type of catch weight, I'm assuming, uh, in which Kell Brook was never the same after that. Um, Truly never the same after that, and then the Earl Spence fight. I think both of those just broke him. But um, so Eddie Hearn didn't learn his lesson, and Opulent LD family, welcome, welcome. Jose Diaz, welcome, family. Um, yeah, so excuse me. Yeah, so he decides to say fuck it. I don't really care. I already did this with Kell Brook and Triple G, and maybe he reaped a reward, a financial reward, and doesn't really care about sacrificing a fighter in their prime. So he's used all of this time to develop Connor Ben and also to keep Eubanks annoying ass like relevant and in the spotlight just to use them against each other, which is odd in my mind. Like, yes, it's a ready-made lineage fight, but each guy, if you were taking them like on a serious path of being built to be champions, could have fought anybody else for legacy. This is just being realistic. Literally, they could have fought anybody else for legacy. And but instead, he's like, well, their dads fought, so let's make them fight. And in his mind, I guess that was a great idea. And someone is gonna lose out big. Someone's gonna lose out big. In my mind, when I heard about this matchup, I just thought it was stupid. I thought like you can't find any other welterweights. You can't find any other super middleweights or middleweights. Seeing as he quote unquote has his weight under control. Uh, Speaking of Eubank, and time goes forward, fast forward to now, and we have, well, I don't want to skip over this. In the process of after this fight was made, we have like their beef starting to actually become something, actually materialize into something between the two sons. And then we start to get a little bit of fire in it, like a little bit of intrigue. And I'm like, okay, so they really starting to beef. But then we get like this really shallow, weak ass gimmick of like their like British short version of selling the fight. And we got Eubank. I don't know if it's because he's a reality TV star over there or he's just sus, but he's just walking around like eating and stuff, like acting like he doesn't care whether he makes weight. And he's basically stated that he would only be like 60% of himself the night of the fight due to all of these weight restrictions. And then out of nowhere comes dad saying that trying to make this catch weight, which I believe is like 155, trying to make the catch weight of 155 and having such like having a rehydration clause being set on Chris Eubank for only I believe 10 pounds above that, so he could only rehydrate to I think 165. Uh, he felt that would possibly like risk his son's life, and it's not worth it, or risk his health, and it's not worth it. Uh, and seeing as he's been doing all of this walking around eating and shit, like it doesn't to me it doesn't seem outlandish because we know boxers cut a lot of weight. We know MMA fighters cut a lot of weight. MMA has known deaths from weight cuts, multiple, and there have been several injuries in boxing from legends to unknown fighters from just cutting weight. So that said, it's not out of the question that his dad is 100% right that his son is probably cutting from 200 or something like that to get down to 160, uh well now to 155 or something like that, and that's exaggerating at his heaviest walk around to where he's going to now. So that's a lot of weight. And then you got to think there's fat in your brain, there's liquid in your brain. And when you're losing weight, you don't choose where you lose weight from. I am a certified personal trainer. I do know that for a fact. So when you start burning fat and you're losing weight extremely fast, you're not choosing to salute PGH big dog, salute family. You're not choosing to omit losing weight from your head or by putting a sauna suit on. It doesn't mean you're only going to lose weight in the areas that you put the sauna suit on. That said, if he gets hit by a true puncher, and I can't even say a true puncher because fast forward the guy popped dirty, but if he gets hit by someone who's dirty or crazy puncher and you lost a lot of fat off your brain or a lot of liquids from around your brain, it makes it that much easier for you to get concussed. Um, yeah, so we had this back and forth between those two about the weight, about the father, about the father being crazy. Uh, right, it exactly those ideas. It's literally horrible the way these what's cracking with you, Love D Man Junior? What's cracking? Uh, yeah, the way these guys lose weight is terrible. And it truly shows like how skilled they are as fighters, but how questionable they are as men. Because like, for you to be losing, and this is across the board for all of these guys to be losing drastic amount of weight, and then going in there and fighting, it says a lot to not be just getting knocked out like instantly. And me, I don't like cut a whole lot of weight. Like I really cut less than most of the industry. At max, when I'm at out of shape, like literally like doing nothing, I'm like 126. But But yeah, but when I'm active and I'm eating and I'm not dieting, but I'm actually working out, I'm walking around 123, 122 ish. So cutting from that to 115 is really nothing. Whereas people, again, I was in the family's chat and just giving people examples like Cool Boy Steph campaigns at 122 and cuts from 150, 150s. Uh, Manny Rodriguez, who campaigns at 118, cuts from 145. Um, uh, the list goes on and on. I mean, you can pick your favorite fighter, and they got a crazy walk around weight, and they cut a lot. Um, but not to get too far away from where I was. Sorry, 1 second. Odd fella, what is cracking with you? TWR's in the building. Salute, salute. Eddie Germ needs to go. He doesn't respect new rules. That's a fact. PGH Big Dog. He definitely need to get the fuck up out of here. He's a devil. That boy blood is maggots. Jose Diaz, I believe at the end of your camp you should be around that weight. I agree 1,000%, Jose Diaz. I think we need to get to a place where you're not cutting more than 10 pounds. Like if you have to cut more than 10 pounds to be in a weight class, I don't know. Like I just don't know. Cause like again, like at max, like I would have to be going from inactive to peak shape, and that would be 126 to 115. And I haven't even gotten a fight at 115 or even offered a fight at 115. All of the fights I've been offered have been above my peak weight at 118 or 122, mostly 122. So when you actually look at the fight that I accepted, I cut from what 124 to 122. You know what I mean? There was literally nothing to cut there. But I'm sorry, I'm digressing. So back to the Eubank Jr. thing. It's not out of the question for his dad to say it's crazy about the weight scenario. But moving forward, uh, then we have the guy fight week, Connor Ben. Uh, whoo, D man, for real? Is that like a usual cut for you? That's crazy. That's probably a one and done. I don't think that's like a regular thing, cause that's a whole human being you cutting off, literally. That's a whole human being. He said he cut from 280 to 160 for those who won't be able to see it in the replay. That's literally 120 pounds. That's crazy. Uh, that's literally one of me. But so fight week, the week of the fight, we got Connor Ben Pop Dirty for whatever the hell is the name of that drug. I won't be able to pronounce it unless it's in front of me. I can't even like recall that. But yeah, and Clomid or Clomid, got you. Thank you. Um, yeah, but so he pops dirty, and the fight, the BBFOC should have pulled the fight and allegedly did pull the fight, but we know we're dealing with boxing, so it's hard to it's hard to determine if that fight is off. Um, Good morning, Queen. Good morning. Good morning, Queen Tay Tay. Tay Tay, MMA Queen of Combat and Entertainment. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Uh, so yeah, like I don't know what to say. I mean, I thought this was a stupid fight to begin with. I thought it was a dumb matchup, but then because you got a guy who's a natural welterweight and a guy who's a natural 160 super middleweight matching up at a catchweight at junior middleweight, like who does that benefit? You know what I mean? And clearly, we see the name of the game was to try to sacrifice Eubank, oddly enough, which I didn't know was the name of the game. But he has a lot more love for Connor Ben, which he showed. The rehydration clause was to protect Conor Ben. Um, he's still pushing for the fight, even though he's known and he's admittedly known about uh, Conor Ben popping dirty before the announcement. So he knew before us, didn't tell anybody, and is still pushing for the fight to go through. So that also is in defense of Conor Ben, not Eubank. And so it just shows us we're dealing with an ain't shit ass business that poses as a sport. And that said, the fight is probably still to be expected to go on. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just gave Ben some, I mean Eubank Jr. some off the books money, and and they conceded to move the fight somewhere where the BBFOC doesn't have authority. Excuse me, and proceed on like it was a clean bout. But I really don't care about Eddie Hearn's fighters. I don't care about the UK like that for real. Like no offense to people who may be viewing from the UK. It's just I'm in the US. Like we are the mecca of boxing, and if it ain't happening over here, it doesn't really matter. Like that's just the reality. Like and that piece of shit ass fight, like ain't nobody checking for that. So yeah, it might still be on. If it does, we'll possibly tune in. We will be finding a way to support King Corleone's fight though. That's a fact. But yeah, so about him popping dirty, hey, he's a piece of shit for popping dirty. I don't think hold on, I just got a question. Jose Diaz, why been suspended? I think because of Eddie's devilish tricks. Basically, because he only popped dirty on Vadas and he didn't pop dirty for UCAD or USADA. Um, and the way that works is like, yes, you have to be tested by both depending on which sanctioning body you're with. But this isn't a title bout, and uh, the Envada doesn't hold any authority over their promotion unless they were connected to a WBC like title. Then VADA could state something or the sanctioning body could intervene. But and also I don't know why the BBFOC just doesn't suspend him because he's a British fighter. He has a British boxing license and they're anti. So I'm not sure exactly why he's not suspended from them, but I know that VADA has no power to suspend them, and the WBC has no power to suspend them either because uh, the WBC isn't involved. Um, but that said, yeah, I think anybody who cheats in this sport in any capacity, when we're talking about performance enhancers, is like a piece of shit. Like if you drink on your off time, that's not a performance enhancing, that's a vice. If you smoke in your off time, that's not necessarily a performance enhancer, that's a vice. I i don't, that's your business. Now, no ma'am, he's not suspended. Yeah, so but when you start doing things that act as stimulants that literally change the way your uh psychophysical connection is and your psychophysical action, the intensity of it, like caffeine, like cocaine, and any of these steroids in any capacity, then you deserve to be punished. And granted, like I think everybody here is from the streets or from the hood in some way, shape, or form. Like, so I don't mean like people should just be thrown under the jails and do life sentences, but they do need to be punished at the full extent of the law because we're talking about um, natural competition. And in natural competition, if someone pop dirty, there's a punishment that comes with it. But then we have natural competition that is on, like, natural competition times 10 basically, when you have a life at stake, when you're talking about the art of pugilism, when you're talking about boxing, someone can actually die. So it should be treated as assault with a deadly weapon, or at least it should have some legal repercussion, but it should be treated like that, because you're already a registered weapon as a fighter. But then when you pop dirty for something, and it was clearly in, yeah, I agree, give him 600 days, like Dillian, give him 600 days. I mean, uh yeah, any type of punishment for real. Like, well, not any type of punishment. One punishment needs to be from boxing specifically, and then one punishment needs to be from the law. That's my opinion on that. But yeah, I really, I can't even drag the shit out. I don't give a fuck about these dudes. Both of them, like, I don't watch their fights. Like, there's nothing interesting about either fighter to me. Like Roy Jones the third, I'm not checking for him. Connor Ben, I'm not checking for him. Like, neither one of these guys are beating the top guys in their weight division. They don't stand a chance, and I'm not fucking with them for real. I feel bad for Eubank, because Eubank didn't do nothing besides get real desperate to get a fight. So desperate that he said, even when I was barely able to make 160, I'll go down below 160 to fight a welterweight. So hey, I feel bad for him, but yeah, screw this fight. Moving on. EJ. So we had Keyshawn Davis wilding, like, uh yes, and the list goes on. Um, so we had Keyshawn Davis wilding, just wilding the fuck out, as we all know he was, wilding on Rolly, wilding on EJ, wilding on Dev, just saying anything he could. He got in front of the camera, and he turned into Eddie Murphy on Raw. Like, he turned into full on stand up. Like, he just said, "Here's my monologue." And monologuing and monologuing and monologuing. The motherfucker just wouldn't stop. Um, and EJ responds yesterday. I guess that maybe they were both. I don't have Twitter, just so you know. So I don't even. That whole world is like, I miss half of. No, I miss 90% of what occurs on Twitter. But I did catch that the big fish said, essentially, why you doing all that, you popping all that shit, uh and you riding dick, I'm gonna knock your man's dick in the dirt. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna sit your boy down. And his follow-up tweet to that was the actual breaking news, like the most important thing, which was his response to something that Keyshawn said, and that was the fight happening next. All you need to know. And that, my friends, that, my friends, is actually what you call news. That is from the horse's mouth. That is from Errol himself. So when Mike Cappinger was talking all of this shit, when when Bud is saying, "Tell these motherfuckers I said this," he's not stating anything, so we don't know what the fuck he said. Um, that that's Cap. You feel me? Not Blue Blood capping. That's Bud capping and trying to push that shit on Blue Blood. You feel me? Um, next is sorry. Next would be clearly just nothing in between. Man, next is next, odd fella. I don't know what to tell you. Granted, he said he was fighting with or without, but on November 19th, allegedly, I didn't like see that his words, but that's what I hear. But he said it's happening next. Now I don't know when next is, but I'm hoping next isn't November 19th. I'm definitely hoping that. I want this fight to be a mega success. And by a mega success, we need at least 3 months of promotion. If you just give us one and or two, this is going to do just like every other EJ fight, which is not good in my eyes because every other EJ fight is fine. EJ sells great on his own, but this doesn't need to be like an EJ fight. This needs to be like um, two stars coming together, making some shit happen. You feel me? So, exactly, Queen, exactly. This year is already gone. Like, if it's not made for January, I wouldn't go no later than January, to be honest. Um, but yeah, I wouldn't go any sooner than October, November. Yeah, I wouldn't go any sooner than December. December or January, those are prime months, I think. December or January, and that's if they started promoting today, because he made an announcement yesterday by saying it's happening next. Um, so yeah, let's pray that we get 3 months of a rollout for this fight, because it may not happen in 2023. I wouldn't be surprised. Hey, if it don't happen in 2023, it don't need to happen at all. I mean, if it don't happen next, it don't need to happen at all. Let's be real. Like, what does Bud have to offer anybody after that? I mean, like, let's be real. Like, EJ doesn't fight Bud. He goes up and fights somebody at 154. He said he was his last fight. I mean, he had one more fight at 147, and then he can move up. Or his last fight at 147 could be Boots, and then he can move up. Or Virgil, and then he can move up. So he can end there with a bang. Who's Bud gonna like? Is Bud gonna just keep claiming he's gonna fight Mel if he can't negotiate with PBC with Errol? He can't negotiate with PBC at all. Period. That's just how that's gonna work. I mean, yeah, you can negotiate with on, because Al Heyman's gonna say, Sean, go do whatever you gotta do to get some money. But if you can't negotiate with EJ, you can't negotiate with PBC at all. So that kills the male fight. What is he gonna do? Try to fight Verge and get stopped? Try to fight Boots and get stopped? Like, give Rashidi a chance and get what off of fighting Rashidi? Like, what? He's in a place where he has to fight EJ or retire. EJ's in a place where he has to fight Bud or move up. You see, like, there's still options where EJ can actually fit well into 154. None of us think, and none of us believe that can beat anybody at 54. To be honest, maybe like Coda, but if we seen Kell Brook bloody his eye and stuff like that with a jab, I mean, I think Jorge Cota give Bud problems. I think Patrick Teixeira give Bud problems. I think everybody at 154 give Bud problems. So he has to, like 50 said, you got to do something, baby. Yeah, and Garcia, thank you, odd fella. Like, he was supposed to fight Garcia at 140. Like, this is 147, 154. We still ain't gonna see that. So yeah, I'm in a place where I'm like, look, we got we got um this fight to look forward to next, because that's what EJ said. EJ's never like, just do what's cracking with you, family. Just do what's cracking. Welcome. Um yeah, like, we have nothing more to look forward to besides this fight. Um when it comes to Bud's career. Right now, as far as legacy, this is the biggest thing we have to look forward to for EJ's career. And for him to say this is happening next is big news. Again, that's an announcement. Um, so that's what I wanted to touch on for today, guys. Just a real quick live. Well, not a quick one, if you will. I was a little bit late. Um, again, I'm up in my miles. Typically, I do like 3 or 4. I'm at the 6, no less than 6. So every day, which is like over 40 a week. And I'm up at 5:30 is when I start. So I'm not done for over like I'm I wanted to start the show around 6:30. Basically, the show is going to be starting at 6:57 ish, 6:50 to 7 on a dot, and we'll be out of here by 7:45 at the latest daily. But that'll be our boxing and breakfast. Trying to stay as early as I can, just to wake everybody up with some boxing, and also to be respectful of everybody's time slots in the LDBC primarily, and also in the TWT. So that said, I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. Much love you all. Um, Again, I'm still figuring out the platform. As soon as I figure out how to start wrenching people up, I'm gonna do so. I'm streaming straight from the platform. I don't know if you can wrench people up from the platform or if that has to be through StreamYard, but again, I'll figure it all out. Smash the like button. Uh, Again, it's your boy Prince the Hustle Guy, aka Wise the Warlock. Um, Shout out to the mighty LBC, LDBC only, LDBC everywhere, LDBC versus everybody, LDBC or nothing. It is a cold black affair. We was reaching in our combat tool bag, and we gone. See y'all tomorrow. Deuces.